This video is brought to you by Factor, the best online food delivery service, bringing you amazing meals put together by their own gourmet chefs, bringing you anything you want from a large menu. It cuts out all the prep and delivered right to your doorstep, so you really don't have to do much in order to get your meal ready. All you have to do is unpackage it, warm it up, and that's it. You don't have to waste any time so you can still enjoy the good weather, and this time, I got some really interesting meals. I still get one of my favorites. You can never go wrong with it, the shredded chicken taco bowl. You guys have probably seen this in other videos as well. I literally get it every single time. It looks good, smells good, and tastes good. I also got the sun-dried tomato chicken, a little bit better for my own diet. And also the grilled steakhouse filet mignon, which I'm probably going to save this for tomorrow. I have to go with the shredded chicken taco bowl. It's a personal favorite of mine. So all you have to do is unpackage it. I'm going to put it in the microwave. I know that's kind of savagery, but that's what I like to do. You can put it in the oven or however you want to warm it up. They also have some pretty good drinks. There's a carrot orange ginger juice, pineapple turmeric and basil juice, apple beet ginger, apple kale wheatgrass. I know that probably doesn't sound the best, but they are pretty tasty. Not too many calories as well. Very good to go with the meal. And that's pretty much it, man. Very quick, very easy. And Factor has a deal for you. By clicking the link in the description below or going to factor75.com, use the code theweasel50 to get 50% off your first Factor order. Just click the link in the description below, which will take you to factor75.com, and from there, use the code theweasel50. I'm telling you guys, it's such a great deal. And I know a lot of you guys have tried it already and gave me some really good reviews about it. And what's up, guys? UFC 293 just wrapped up, and man, that main event was pretty shocking. A huge upset where Sean Strickland defeated Israel Adesanya. The co-main event was also another easy performance for Alexander Volkov. In fact, the whole main card had kind of one-sided fights. Other than Manel Kape versus Felipe dos Santos, Felipe did a lot better than we expected. Sean Strickland beat Adesanya without too much difficulty. Volkov defeated Tuivasa, just had to deal with some powerful leg kicks, but other than that, he was pretty comfortable. Kape and Felipe was a good fight. Early on, he was very competitive, but kept started to pull through. Jousset Tafa made short work of Austen Lane. Tyson Pedro made short work of the Pleasure Man. Ulberg looked pretty good as well, getting a submission win, the first of his career. We had a injury finish from Mariscal, snapping Jenkins' arm. And the crazy thing about that was, if you listen to it, the loud snap that you hear happens before Jenkins posted his arm on the ground. So I think Mariscal, from the throw itself, cranking on his right arm, actually snapped it before it hit the ground. Crazy. Jamie Mullarkey versus Makdessi was a fantastic fight. A lot of people think Makdessi won. It was very competitive. I really liked it. Nasrat Haqparast put in a good performance against Landon Quinones. Quinones did a lot better than people expected coming off the Ultimate Fighter. Blood Diamond actually performing much better than people thought against Charles Radke, who everybody believed would be able to take him down and submit him. But Blood Diamond showed better takedown defense, and Radke's takedowns not nearly as good as we thought they were going to be. Gabriel Miranda, fastest finish on the whole card, 59-second submission against Shane Jung. Shane Jung was 4 pounds overweight, and that's his 4th loss in a row, so he's probably going to get cut. Kevin Jousset getting an easy rear naked choke against Kiefer Crosbie. I thought this fight was going to be very close, and even on the odds they were pretty close, but turned out Crosbie has very poor defense for leg kicks and just gave his neck up. He didn't fight the choke at all. So I would have to say the whole card in general, because of the big upset at the end, I would give it a 7 out of 10. You had a lot of finishes, 7 finishes out of all 12 fights, 1 huge upset for the main event, big one-sided performances, a couple really decent fights as well, competitive. I think this is a solid 7 out of 10. And let's start with that main event. Sean Strickland dominated in the press conference, all of the media obligations, the promotion for the fight, and the fight itself. He carried the whole fight week on his back. And I honestly think that he could a decent amount of fans to his fights. And it looks like the guy loves to promote his own fights too, so Sean Strickland may be able to draw well for his fights now. Dare we say that is the greatest defensive performance in UFC history? I am still surprised, man. Strickland pulled it off. And you know what the funny thing about it is? We have that triangle. Adesanya beat Pereira. Pereira also beat Adesanya, actually. Strickland just beat Adesanya, and Pereira beat Strickland. So who's the best out of the three? It's the reason why MMA math does not work. He just made the fight so simple. He just stuck to the fundamentals, fought how he always does, and Adesanya could not find his openings that well. He landed a couple overhands over the shoulder, and a few good leg kicks, a couple grazing body kicks, but that was really it. He was really trying to catch him with a question mark kick, and they all got defended. Every single one of them. Credit to Sean Strickland for very good defense. Made Israel Adesanya miss more than anybody else. Adesanya's striking accuracy was 34% for the whole fight, whereas Sean Strickland's was 52%. That is insane, man. And Adesanya's a sniper. You would think this guy's generally very precise, but Strickland's defense was so on point. Constantly working off the jab. Knocked him down in the first round. And when that knockdown happened, it literally felt like a dream. It seemed impossible for him to drop Adesanya even when you saw it happen. Pinpointed exactly where Adesanya was moving in the octagon and cut him off so well. Mostly fired off the big shots after Adesanya threw his own in order to counter Adesanya, knowing that Izzy a lot of times does overextend when he's throwing big. He likes to rely on his speed and that long reach in order to retract quick enough, but Sean Strickland was on him because of that pressure. He was so close to Adesanya every time Izzy threw. Strickland was there to counter him. It was amazing to watch, and I love seeing fighters win by such a simplistic approach. And simplistic does not mean easy. It just means there's not a lot of wrinkles, like there's not a lot of flashiness and all these different kind of tools that he's using. Adesanya has more striking tools in the toolbox. He does a lot more things, but he's not as simple as Strickland, right? Strickland simplifies everything he does and is so effective at doing so. So where do we rank Sean Strickland in terms of best strikers in the UFC? People were expecting him to shoot takedowns. People were expecting him to try to make it as boring as possible, not do too much. But he was the guy that landed the biggest shots. He was the guy that got the knockdown. He never shot a takedown. It's actually insane how easy he made it. The guy that everybody thought Adesanya would run through, right? The easiest opponent in Adesanya's career, beat him easier than anybody else did. You could even argue beat him easier than Jan Blachowicz did. And of course, Alex Pereira, which was a very close fight up until the 5th round TKO. And Sean Strickland didn't go on in some crazy tirade at the end. He didn't have some insane post-fight interview. I didn't see the press conference yet because I'm recording this right after the event. But the guy was crying, man. He was just so happy. He really did not believe he would ever become champion. Even the things he was saying going into this fight, it just seemed like he thought he was going to get hurt and he would just fight the best he could. It almost seemed like he accepted that he would probably lose this fight, most likely. And sometimes that have nothing to lose mentality and just do your best is the best approach. It works for certain fighters, doesn't work for others. For Strickland, it seems like it works very well for. Now, who should they fight next? I don't think Adesanya gets an immediate rematch. He just got an immediate rematch from the Pereira loss. And that was after Adesanya was a long-reigning champion. When he fought Strickland here, he was not a long-reigning champion. He won the belt against Pereira. No title defenses after that. Loses to Strickland pretty handily. I think Adesanya needs at least one more win to get another title shot. I think the fight is Strickland and Dricus. I think you do Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis, who is rightfully the number 1 contender. Well, now after Adesanya is the number 2 contender, there is still that storyline between Dricus and Adesanya that everybody wants to see. So there is a possibility they put that together. But then what do you do with Strickland? Right, Strickland has been pretty active. And this guy loves to fight. He loves to make money. I'm pretty sure he wants to get in there quickly again. If he's going to get another contender, it has to be Dricus. And then you have Adesanya maybe fight Whitaker for the 3rd time, given that their second fight was very, very close. Or you do Adesanya versus Cannonier. Wait, there's that too. Sean Strickland really wants to avenge that loss to Cannonier. So if they do the big grudge match between Adesanya and Dricus, because it would sell very well, they could do the rematch with Strickland and Jared Cannonier. So those are all interesting fights. I want to see Dricus fight Strickland, and I would rather see Adesanya fight a Cannonier or a Whitaker or something. And then we go to the co-main event. Alexander Volkov submits Tai Tuivasa with an Ezekiel choke 4 minutes and 37 seconds into the 2nd round. What can we say about Tai Tuivasa, man? He's so limited. He's a fun fighter, but against the technical guys, he just struggles with them. The only success he had were the leg kicks. He didn't land too many good head strikes on Volkov. He couldn't deliver with what he usually does because Volkov is way too long, man. He's way too technical. He keeps that jab on Tuivasa, good body and head kicks with the lead leg, good counter rights and uppercuts, and even beat Tuivasa in the pocket. If he's beating Tuivasa in the pocket, it's over. It's a wrap. There's always a puncher's chance at heavyweight, but this was a clear mismatch outside the leg kicks from Tuivasa, causing some damage. And when Volkov got full mount, picturing being under a guy like that is terrifying because Volkov is very bottom heavy. He has big heavy hips, huge legs. You can't shake this guy off. Tuivasa tried and he could barely budge him. Volkov was laying big ground and pound. Even where it looked like Tuivasa found a way to escape, Volkov just easily remounted him. Tuivasa's very tough. He can eat a lot of shots, so Volkov finished him with an Ezekiel choke. Crazy, man. You've seen a lot of that choke from the Eastern European and the Russian fighters. So Alexander Volkov was number 7, Tuivasa was number 6. They're most likely going to trade places. I think Volkov should fight Curtis Blades, and Tai Tuivasa should fight Marcin Tybura, or maybe Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Hard to know what to do with Tai Tuivasa. You know what was insane? At one point, Tuivasa and Derek Lewis were in the top 5 together. That was pretty crazy. Now Derek Lewis number 10, and Tuivasa's just been losing. He's not too far away from that. Manel Kape defeated Felipe dos Santos by decision. This was such a technical fight, man. Both these guys were so incredibly fast, especially Manel Kape. The way this guy's able to counter in the pocket the way he does and being so comfortable there. He did get tagged a bit, but he's extremely skilled at doing that. There was that moment in the second round where he was entering and exiting the pocket with stutter steps, creating small angles and firing off a barrage of punches at the same time. It was pure art. He's also one of the most powerful fighters in the flyweight division, knocked down his 4 last opponents, which is very hard to do if you're not Deiveson Figueiredo. Felipe dos Santos, though, is very good. He just fought one of the better contenders in the world. I think Manel Kape is better than his ranking is, right? He's number 10. I think his skills are higher than that. Felipe, on short notice, for his UFC debut, fought a competitive fight with this guy. Made the first round especially competitive before Manel Kape started to pull ahead. Felipe reminds you of like Charles Oliveira. He trains with him, so it does make sense. He has extremely explosive and well-developed offense. Doesn't move his head enough, which is what you're going to get from an Oliveira camp. And also has decent full guard control. I definitely see this guy going very far in the future. He's only 23 years old. This is such great experience for him to grow. So I think you put the fight together again with Manel Kape and Kai Kara-France. You gotta put that fight together. There was so much build up before this fight, after Kai pulled out, after the fight was over with Felipe. I'm not gonna lie, that is actually one of my more anticipated fights for the flyweight division. Flyweight is better than it's ever been. It's such a great time for the lighter weight classes right now, where at one point flyweight was looked at as like a joke. And we had Demetrius Johnson as the champion when people thought it was a joke. Crazy, right? Now you have all these fighters handing the belts to each other. Deiveson Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno, now Alexander Pantoja. And you have great contenders like Manel Kape. You have Kai Kara-France. You have Brandon Royval, Amir Elbazi. There's so many great fighters in this flyweight division. I actually anticipate this weight class being like at least top 3 in the next coming years. And we have guys like Felipe dos Santos, Mohamed Mokaev, very young guys rising up that look so promising. Then we go to more of the big bangers here. Justin Tafa knocking out Austen Lane in the rematch, 1 minute and 22 seconds in the first round. He almost hit the mark hunt. He almost got it. So Austen Lane was elusive, moving around the octagon, showing his athleticism for such a big guy who used to play in the NFL. You could definitely tell his athleticism carried over a bit. He doesn't have the touch yet for fighting. He's a big, strong, athletic guy, but when you're going up against a kickboxer like Justin Tafa, who has combat sports experience, it's tough to beat him in his own game, right? Austen Lane would have to attempt takedowns in order to have some kind of success against a guy like Justin Tafa. Austen Lane exploded forward, got caught by a counter right hook that shook him up a bit, and Justin Tafa just hunted him down with the left overhand, put him down. I thought the ref was going to call it, and we were going to see that classic walk-off knockout, and I wish the ref did call it because Justin Tafa was hammering his head through the canvas. Those are some destructive ground and pound shots. Austen Lane's head was bouncing off the canvas, man. And it's another thing for that to happen in like the flyweight or bantamweight division. But heavyweights, man? Nah, you gotta call that. The damage accumulates way too quickly in that weight class. So amazing win for Justin Tafa. Justin Tafa versus Derek Lewis is absolutely the next fight to make. Tyson Pedro knocking out Anton Turkalj in the first round, 2 minutes and 12 seconds into it. The Pleasure Man did not get tasted, right? He was saying that Tyson Pedro would have to taste the Pleasure Man. I still don't know exactly what he meant by that, but I hope it's not what we think it is. And Tyson Pedro said he doesn't like this guy, and I think that's a reason why. It was looking quite back and forth, where Anton Turkalj was throwing some really good kicks. He tried to clinch up with him a few times. Tyson Pedro was keeping his range pretty well. Just landed the 1-2s. Very simple. 1-2, 1-2 again, and put Turkalj to the ground. One hammer fist, and that fight was over. Awesome celebration, though, from Tyson Pedro. The whole samurai thing. I don't know if that's like I don't know how that relates to him, but it was pretty cool. Now, people do knock Tyson Pedro for his last performance against Modestas Bukauskas, but I think he was saying he was like really sick going into that fight. And maybe it's true with how he performed against Anton Turkalj. Carlos Ulberg submitting Da-Un Jung 4 minutes and 49 seconds into the third round. He was busting this guy up with jabs, man. Jabbing him to the right side of his face, hitting him with some good left hooks as well. Dropped him, I believe it was in the first round with that flurry. And Jung just never seemed like he was confident at all to do really anything. He didn't really do much, especially in the first round. He just let the whole round off. And it seemed like he just respected Carlos Ulberg a bit too much, right? He probably believed in the hype. I expected many more takedowns from Jung, but it's crazy to see that Carlos Ulberg was the fighter. Not only outstruck Jung, who at one point had a lot of hype to him, but took him down, slammed him, and then got the rear naked choke. It was almost a decision win, right? I'm very glad they used the replay. So This is one of the only times we saw a fight result get changed because they used the replay. I hope they keep doing this because a submission win is a lot better than a decision win, right? Especially for your record, especially if you're gonna get like a post-fight bonus or something like that. Because Jung definitely tapped out, and I saw where the ref's position was. I'm like, oh, he didn't see it, did he? And I thought Jung was gonna go out, but Jung did not go unconscious even after being in the choke for like 10 more seconds. So it tells you how early he tapped, pretty much acknowledging that he lost. But it also showed you that he could have just rolled that out to a decision too. Cole's Ulberg deserves top 15. This guy's been performing. He's been doing very well. Give him a top 15 fighter. I like to see him against another kickboxer in Dustin Jacoby, or they could do Alonzo Menefield. That would be pretty interesting. Menefield is more of a well-rounded fighter, so he would test Ulberg in every area. One of those two fighters makes sense, but I really like the Dustin Jacoby fight. Dustin Jacoby's a solid kickboxer. Chepe Mariscal beats Jack Jenkins by TKO 3 minutes and 19 seconds into the second round. Jenkins was doing very well in the first round. He was kicking Mariscal's legs so much. A lot of damage was building up. And then when they go into the second round, Mariscal was super aggressive, tried to close in the distance so Jenkins cannot kick his leg anymore. That leg looked like it was mutating. And then Mariscal was holding up against the fence for a pretty long time. We thought he was going to wall install. And then he gets the double overhooks, attempting to suplex Jenkins. And you hear the snap of the arm before he posts that arm to the ground. Originally, I thought that he snapped his arm when he posted it, which is something you don't want to do. But if you listen to it carefully, the audio of the snap happens before he posts. So I think when Mariscal cranked and yanked on those overhooks, I think that's what snapped the arm, which is actually insane. So a good finish for Mariscal, even though it looked like Jenkins was the better fighter out there. But that's not always what wins fights. Mariscal got the finish. Jamie Mullarkey defeats John Makdessi by decision. This was a great fight. Makdessi's defense was on point. Jamie Mullarkey was landing really good leg kicks, and that was a big thing this whole card, leg kicking damage, because so many fighters were getting their legs destroyed. And Jamie Mullarkey was causing some damage on Makdessi's lead leg, but he just couldn't hit him to the head that often. He has very good punching form. I love the way he throws his punches. Sometimes he overextends, there is that, and Makdessi was countering him. He did hurt Mullarkey very badly with a right hand at one point. I think the fight ultimately came down to the third round. I would have to look back at it. It was really hard to score that one live. Nasrat Haqparast showing a good performance against Landon Quinones. Quinones was kicking his leg. That was the majority of the damage from Quinones, and it caused Nasrat to have to switch stances. So a lot of people draw parallels between Nasrat and Kelvin Gastelum, not only with the way they look, but even somewhat with the way they fight. The big difference between the two is that Nasrat is very heavy on his lead leg. He's always looking to keep his head right in front of you, pull away or slip, and then return with his left. So he's like rocking back and forth sometimes instead of bouncing on his feet the way Kelvin does, right? Kelvin's constantly bouncing back and forth. He's not keeping weight on his lead leg that often. So when Nasrat had to switch stances, he actually found his range in that second round, and Quinones could not counter it that well. He was taking so many left overhands. Nasrat caused more head damage than Quinones did to his leg. So great performance by Nasrat Haqparast, a great way to adjust to the leg damage. Charles Radke defeats Blood Diamond. The way this fight played out was very unexpected. I did not expect Blood Diamond to defend that many takedowns, and I did not expect Blood Diamond to get outstruck for the most part too. Charles Radke was digging in with those left hooks. It was like a Walmart version of the main event in a way. Minus the takedowns, Charles Radke was being a lot more fundamental with his approach. He was not nearly as technical or as good as Sean Strickland, but he kind of did he had very similar kind of attacks that Sean Strickland beat Israel Adesanya with. And Blood Diamond was throwing out some crazy kicks and stuff, spinning back elbows, creating some chaos in there, but ultimately lost a decision. Gabriel Miranda made it very easy, got the fight to the ground immediately and choked him out. Kevin Jousset caused a lot of leg damage, took him down, took his neck, very easy win for him as well. And he called out Ian Gary. I don't think he's going to get Ian Gary anytime soon. Maybe if he gets some good wins, we could see that in the future, but I guess he's just planting the seed, and the French fighters are on fire lately. These guys are performing very well. And that's ultimately the end of the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to give this a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit the bell for notifications. And I'll see you guys in the next video.